The Galactic Council was meeting again. Inside a giant, dark room filled with red lights and metal walls, powerful alien leaders sat in silence. These were the rulers of the galaxy, cold, wise, and dangerous. They had seen wars, planets burn, and empires fall. But today, something felt different. A chair at the center was still empty. It belonged to Earth. "Why are they late?" asked a tall gray alien with 4 eyes. "Typical humans," another whispered. "Always weak. Always slow." Suddenly, the doors opened. Everyone turned. A single human walked in, a young woman. She wore a clean black suit, no armor, no guards, no translator. She was alone. She walked slowly but with confidence. Her face was calm. Her eyes sharp. She sat in the empty chair without saying a word. The council stared at her. "This is the human ambassador?" A lizard-like creature said in surprise. "She's just a girl," a giant rock-skinned alien growled. But no one laughed. Something about her was not normal. She placed a small notebook on the table. No computer. Just paper and pen. Finally she spoke. "My name is Alara. I speak for Earth." Her voice was soft, but it echoed in the room. Each word felt heavy, like it carried power. The air changed. The aliens looked at each other. Some smiled politely. Others looked nervous. A few leaned back in fear. One of the older members, a spider-like being with glowing red eyes, tapped his claws. "What are you doing here, human?" "This is a council of empires, not children." Ilara looked at him. "I came to talk," she said, "but also to listen." "And what will you do if we say no?" She smiled. "Then Earth will listen. And prepare." A silence fell again. Another alien, tall with blue skin and silver robes, stood. "Let me be clear, human. We allowed Earth into this meeting out of kindness. You are not equals here. You are not powerful. You are not ready." Alara opened her notebook. She flipped to the first page. "You fear what you don't understand," she said gently. "But Earth understands more than you think." The council members shifted in their seats. "You know nothing about us," the lizard alien snapped. She turned a page. "Cracks of Zone 12, she read. "Your empire is losing control of your eastern colonies. Your people are starving. You've hidden this from the council for 7 years. The room froze. How do you know that?" Cracks growled. She turned to another page. "Vrel of the Moon Shadows," she said to the spider creature. "You signed a secret trade deal with the Irix pirates. That's why you voted against the new defense plan." Vrel hissed. Ilara looked up. "We don't bring weapons," she said. "We bring knowledge." Now the fear in the room was real. She closed the notebook. "Earth doesn't need guns to be dangerous," she said. One alien stood up. "This is a threat." "No," she said calmly. "It's a message." She looked around the room. For years, Earth watched. We stayed quiet. We learned your languages, your history, your politics, your wars, and now we're here not to fight, but to change the game. The door behind her opened again. No soldiers, just a small drone. It floated to the center of the room and projected a hologram, a map of the galaxy. And then, new paths appeared, secret paths, unknown to the council, wormholes, hidden gates, secret alliances. The council gasped. "That's impossible." Someone whispered. Elara stood. "Earth found what you couldn't. We found new roads, and we're not asking for a seat at your table." She looked each alien in the eye. "We're giving you one last chance to share the table with us." She picked up her notebook and walked toward the exit. Then she paused. "Be careful," she said softly. "Some doors, once opened, don't close." She left. The doors shut behind her. And the Galactic Council sat in silence. For the first time in 1,000 years. They were afraid. The chamber stayed silent long after Ilara left. No One move. No one spoke. These alien leaders had ruled for centuries. Some had destroyed planets. Others had survived black hole wars. But today, they felt something new. Uncertainty. She's just one human, said Vrel, the spider-like alien, his voice shaky. How can she know so much? Cracks. The lizard warrior slammed his hand on the table. They hacked our systems. That's the only way. No, whispered the blue-skinned alien Surat. This was not hacking. This was deeper. She spoke with control, precision. She was not guessing. They rewound the hologram. They watched her face again. Her eyes did not blink. Her tone never changed. She had no fear. She never raised her voice. Surat said, "And yet, she made us feel small." That sentence filled the room with shame. These beings were used to respect, fear, power. And then came a girl from Earth, with only a notebook, and she shook the stars. Was this Earth's warning? Someone asked. No, said another. It was only the first move. The Grand Speaker, a tall being made of light and mist, finally spoke. Bring the diplomat back. A younger alien objected. Shouldn't we study her first? Interrogate her? Understand her mission? The Grand Speaker stared through the smoke of his own body. You don't interrogate storms, he said. You survive them. Back on Earth. 3 days earlier, in a hidden facility deep under Antarctica, Ilara stood inside a dark training room. Around her were 12 glowing screens. Each one played war footage from the galaxy, assassinations, invasions, betrayal. A voice spoke from the shadows. You won't be going as a soldier. I know, Ilara answered. You won't carry weapons. I won't need them. You will be alone. She nodded. Then the voice asked the final question. What is your objective? She looked straight ahead. To make them listen. Then make them afraid. Then make them obey. Now, back at the council, a private emergency meeting was called. Only 6 of the most powerful alien empires were invited. The topic, what is Earth really planning? A tall green-skinned general spoke first. I believe Earth is bluffing. Surat shook his head. Bluffing doesn't feel like that. Her words carried weight, old power, hidden power. She knows things no outsider should know, Vrel hissed. Maybe she's not alone, one suggested. Maybe Earth has already placed more of these diplomats across the galaxy. The idea hit them like lightning. How many more are there? How long have they been watching? And then Surat said something that made the room go cold. What if that girl wasn't the weapon, but just a warning? Final scene, the gift left behind after Ilara left. A small metal cube was found under her chair. It hummed softly. No one knew what it was, no buttons. No code. It was taken to the science chamber. The scientists scanned it. Inside the cube was a recording. It was Ilara's voice. To those who doubt us, understand this, Earth learned. From your mistakes, copied your strength, and erased our fear. We were never weak. We only waited. Now, the waiting is over. Then the cube exploded into light. Not a bomb, a message, a map. 12 Earth diplomats. Already inside 12 galactic systems. Mission, unknown. Purpose, unknown. Now the council had to make a choice. Reach out in peace. Or prepare for war. But one thing was clear. Earth was no longer the student. Earth had become the threat. The next day, Ilara returned to the council chamber. This time, no one laughed. No one spoke. She walked in with the same slow, steady steps. She carried the same notebook. No guards, no machine, no fear, but the atmosphere had changed. Eyes followed her closely now, not with amusement, but with caution. She sat in her seat and opened her notebook again. Page 1. The Grand Speaker welcomed her, his glowing form flickering slightly. Earth representative, Ilara, you have our attention. Ilara looked up. That's a good start, she said. Some council members frowned. Others leaned forward. She didn't ask for permission to speak. She simply began. You all rule with power, fear, numbers, ships, weapons. But power can be quiet too. Power can hide in words, in looks, in secrets. She closed the notebook. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to show you something far more dangerous than war. The games begin. She turned to the left towards a violet-skinned alien named Thuros, leader of the Voxan Empire. Thuros, she said, how is your son? Thuros froze. You've never told anyone he was sick. Not even your people. But Earth knows. We also sent a cure. Gasps echoed across the room. How did you? Thuros began. But Alara moved on. She looked at Surat of the Silver Moons. You stopped your war 2 years ago. Not for peace, but because your supply lines were compromised. Earth fixed them. For you, quietly, we never asked for payment. Surat's mouth fell open. His secrets exposed. Now, Alara stood. She looked around the room with calm eyes. You think humans are new to the game. But we were studying the board long before we made our first move. Silence falls, doubt rises. The chamber felt colder now. Not from temperature, but from fear. Each alien wondered, what does she know about me? What does Earth know about my empire? Even the strongest voices grew quiet. Whispers started. Did she read my files? Has Earth been inside my systems? How long have they been watching? Alara said nothing. She sat back down, calm as ever. That silence was louder than any speech. Private meeting after the session, later that day. 5 leaders met in a hidden room. They locked the doors. No cameras. No recordings. She's tearing us apart without lifting a finger. Surat said. She knows things no one should know. This is psychological warfare, Thuros whispered. She's not just a diplomat, she's a strategist. Worse, Vrel said, crawling on the walls. She's a symbol. Earth has found a new way to win wars without firing a single shot. What do we do? Surat paused. Then said what no one wanted to hear. We may need to destroy Earth before it's too late. Meanwhile, back in her quarter, Sela sat alone in a quiet room, writing in her notebook. She smiled to herself. The council was reacting exactly how she predicted. Fear, doubt, division. She didn't need weapons. She just needed truth. Truth was heavier than bullets, and she had studied them. All. She turned the page. One line was written at the top. Break the unity. Then shape the chaos. Her plan was working, but it wasn't over yet. Tomorrow, she would reveal something else. Something none of them could deny. Ending tease. A hidden file transmits to Earth. At the same time, deep inside the Council's communication hub, a secret signal was sent to Earth. Encrypted. Untraceable. ELAR. A single S message was short. Phase 1 complete. They are turning on each other. Begin Phase 2. Asterisk far away from the stars. Hidden deep beneath Earth's frozen mountains. There is no map to this place. No door. No sunlight. Only silence. And inside this silence, the real weapons of Earth are born. They are not trained to shoot. They are trained to think. To manipulate. To break empires from the inside out. And Alara was their best point. 10 years ago. The first lesson, a young girl sat in a cold, dark room. She was only 13. No windows, no toys. Just a notebook and a screen. On the screen, a group of aliens arguing in a council chamber. Calm voice spoke from the ceiling. Alara, who will win this argument? She watched silently. Then she pointed at the smallest alien. Why? Because he looks weak, she said, so they won't see the trap. The voice paused. Correct. Not a school, a Fergilara, and others like her were not raised in normal schools. They were chosen, selected from Earth's quiet shadows, the smartest minds, the coldest nerves. They were taught alien languages, psychology, political warfare, galactic history, and most importantly, how to make others trust them. then break them. They studied everything, not how to survive war, but how to become war in human skin. Lesson 27. Never show power in one class. Ilara stood face to face with another student. Both were silent. They had to speak 5 sentences each, only words. No violence. The goal: make the other student cry or leave the room. Ilara won every time. She didn't insult. She didn't shout. She simply said things that no one should. No. Personal. Sharp. Surgical. She could cut a soul with a smile. That was her gift. Outside the facility, the world was changing while other nations built warships and battlebots, Earth's secret program. Trained diplomats, each more dangerous than the last. Why send armies when you could send one person and collapse an empire from within? No explosions, no invasions. Just silence, followed by surrender. Back to the present. Galactic Council chamber. Council was no longer united. Every empire now suspected the other. Every leader feared. Ilara knew too much. She never raised her voice. She never made threats. But trust, their greatest strength, was now broken. One alien general whispered to another, "If this is just one human, what if there are more?" They were right to ask. On a quiet moon in Sector 19, another human diplomat stood at a spaceport. She was talking to 2 angry alien soldiers, but within minutes, they lowered their weapons and agreed to peace. On a floating station near a dying sun, a different human handed an alien queen a gift, a small mirror that showed a memory from her childhood. She cried, then signed an alliance treaty with Earth. Across the galaxy, the signs were clear. Earth's diplomats were everywhere. Each smiling, each polite, each trained to control. Back on Earth, the director speaks inside the hidden facility. The director of the program stood before a new group of students. "You've heard of soldiers," he said. "You've heard of spies. But what we create here are architects of collapse." He walked past them slowly. "One sentence from you must be more powerful than 1,000 bombs." He looked up at a large screen. It showed Ilara sitting in the council chamber, notebook in hand. "Now," he whispered, "watch how planets fall." Final scene, Ilara's next move that evening. Ilara walked alone through the long halls of the Galactic Council. Aliens moved out of her way, not because of fear, but because of respect. Mixed with something darker. Confusion. Power. Uncertainty. She walked past a group of guards. One whispered, "She's just a diplomat." Another replied, "No, she's something else." Ilara paused outside her room. She looked at the stars through the glass. Then smiled softly and said, "Lesson 1, never let them see the weapon until it's already inside." The Galactic Council gathered once more, but this time, things were different. The room was colder. The silence was heavier. And every leader carried a question. They were too afraid to ask out loud. What does the human want next? Ilara sat quietly in her seat, notebook closed, eyes steady. She didn't speak. She just waited. Then, without a word, a small drone entered the room and hovered in front of her. In its center was a crystal cube, glowing faintly with soft golden light. She stood up slowly and placed the cube on the council table. "This," she said, "is not for all of you." The room shifted. Aliens leaned forward. Eyes narrowed. "Then who is it for?" asked Ilara. Didn't answer. She simply turned and pointed at one being, a quiet, thin alien with dark green skin and silver eyes. Zarek of the Nithari cluster. Everyone turned toward him. Zarek looked confused. "Me? Why?" Ilara smiled. "Because your ancestors left something unfinished. Earth finished it." Zarek stood up. "What are you talking about?" She stepped closer and whispered, "You already know." Zarek takes the cube. Tension filled the chamber. Zarek picked up the crystal cube with shaking hands. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a hologram burst into the air above him, not of a map or a threat, or a weapon, but of his homeworld. From over 10,000 years ago, the room gasped, ancient buildings, forgotten symbols. A voice spoke in Zarek's own ancestral language. One long dead. Even Zarek didn't understand all of it. He fell to his knees. Tears filled his eyes. No one, not even my people, remember this, he whispered. How did you find this? Another alien demanded. Elara looked at the others. Earth listens to what others forget. We study silence. We follow whispers in time. The council breaks. Vril slammed his hand on the table. Enough of your games. Ilara turned to him, calm as ever. This was not a game, she said. This was a message, for one species, and a test. For all of you. Surratt narrowed his eyes. What test? To see who would try to control it, Ilara replied. And who would let history speak? Now the room broke into arguments. Why Nithari? Why not us? What gives Earth the right to reveal another species' past? She's dividing us. No, she's proving we were never united. Ilara didn't stop them. She didn't have to. Meanwhile, Zarek's transformation Zik stood in a side hall, staring at the cube alone. The hologram still hovered beside him, replaying memories no one had seen for thousands of years. He touched one symbol on the projection. It opened into a second message. This one was from Earth. A simple line. The truth is your weapon now. Use it. Zarek's expression changed. He was no longer confused. Now he looked dangerous. Back at the council. The fear grows while the leaders argued. Surratt leaned toward Ilara and whispered, Why are you doing this? She didn't look at him. She simply replied, Because words can start wars faster than ships. Surratt froze. She continued, And Earth doesn't want war. Unless it becomes necessary. Another pause. Do you believe in fate? She asked softly. No. Good, she said. Because I don't either. I believe in control. Final scene. A signal sent to Earth. Back on Earth, inside the secret diplomat program headquarters, a signal arrived from Ilara. The screen lit up. Phase 2 complete. Nithari unlocked. Council balance shifted. The director smiled. Another voice in the room said, What happens if they unite again? The director replied, They won't. She's already turned trust into fear. Ending line. Ilara's thoughts as Ilara looked out the glass window at the stars. She opened her notebook and wrote a single sentence. We didn't come to speak peace. We came to teach power. She closed the book. The war had not started, but the galaxy was already breaking. Asterisk. The Galactic Council was no longer the same. What was once a circle of unity had become a ring of suspicion. They didn't sit together anymore. They whispered in corners. They looked over their shoulders, and they all had one name in their minds. Elara. The human girl with the calm voice and the dangerous notebook. She had said little, but she had changed everything. Behind closed doors, secret meetings began on the lower levels of the council building. The empires began holding private talks. Not about peace, not about trade, but about Ilara and Earth. She knows our weaknesses, said Krax. That makes her more dangerous than any general. Earth is using her to divide us, said Vril, eyes glowing. And it's working. We must act, said another, before it's too late. And so, a secret group was formed. 7 leaders, once enemies, now united by one fear. The human diplomat must be removed. The spark of rebellion, but upstairs, something else was happening. Zrik, the alien who received the mysterious message from Ilara, had changed. He now stood with new strength. He called an emergency session. My people were forgotten for 10,000 years, he said. Earth reminded us who we are, while the council only watched us fall. Some clapped. Others stayed silent. One council member stood and shouted, You would betray the council for one human? Zarek's voice was cold. No, I would betray the council for the truth. The room exploded in argument, accusations flew, alliances shattered. Old enemies began to choose sides. Ilara stays silent through it all. Ilara sat in her chair, notebook open, expression calm. She didn't speak, she didn't move, but in her silence, they turned on each other. A diplomat from the Gold Nebula Empire shouted, "Earth is playing with us like children." Another leader snapped, "Maybe you're just afraid they're better at the game than we are." The Grand Speaker tried to control the room. He raised his voice. He called for order, but no one listened. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. Now it was falling apart in front of a single human. Far away, Earth watches in Earth's hidden control room. A giant screen showed the Council live. The director stood with arms behind his back. "She hasn't said a word in 3 days. One officer said. The director smiled. "She doesn't need to. She already won Phase 3. The assassination order that night, in the deepest shadows of the station, a group of masked beings met in silence. They belonged to 7 different species. They had never trusted each other before. But tonight, they agreed on one mission: kill the human diplomat. "Make it look like an accident," one whispered. "She must not speak again." Inside Ilara's quarter, Sella sat alone, candlelight flickering in the dark. She wrote in her notebook, "They will come for me soon. Let them try." Behind her, hidden in the shadows, a small blinking device tracked every movement in the council chamber. Elara knew every face. Every voice, every secret. She had planned for this moment from the beginning. She smiled gently. Lesson 8. When they start plotting to kill you, it means they've already lost. Final scene. A door opens. The assassins move through the shadows, silent and swift. They reached Ilara's door. One reached out to break it. Opened. The door slid open before they touched it. Ilara stood there, waiting. Calm. Alone. Behind her, room glowed red. She looked at them, her voice soft. "You're late." A flash. An alarm. The screen goes black. The alarms were still ringing. Outside Ilara's quarters, the assassins stood frozen, not by weapons. Not by fear, but by something they didn't expect. Her calmness. She didn't run. She didn't fight. She simply stood there, looking at them with soft eyes. "Are you here to kill me?" she asked. They didn't answer. Ilara stepped aside. "Come in." Confused, they walked in, weapons ready. The room was quiet. There were no guards, no traps. Just a single table, and one hologram glowing in the center. On it, a map of the entire galaxy, with red circles drawn across it. Dozens of them, each one labeled Active Diplomatic Infiltration Zone. One assassin whispered, "What is this?" Ilara turned toward them. "This," she said, "is how Earth wins wars. Without firing. A shot. A story the galaxy never heard." The hologram changed. Now it showed Earth hundreds of years ago. Small, broken, divided. Wars, pollution, hunger. And then something changed. Not technology. Not weapons. But minds. "We realize the most powerful weapons," Ilara said, "are not ships or bombs, but people who understand how to move others without them noticing." The screen showed clips of training centers, notebooks, language labs, memory testing, psychological drills. "We stopped building empires. We started building diplomats." Meanwhile, in the council chamber, the Grand Speaker was furious. "Ilara must be stopped," he shouted. "She has poisoned our unity." But many council members said nothing. They looked at each other. They remembered her words. Her knowledge. Her truth. And deep inside, they knew it wasn't poison. It was power. Zarek stood and spoke calmly. "She didn't divide us. She showed us that we were never truly united." Back in Ilara's room, the choice Ilara stood in front of the assassins. "You were sent here to end me," she said, "but I offer you something else." They didn't lower their weapons, but they didn't fire either. "You think I came to take power?" she continued. "No, I came to offer a new order, one where truth is more powerful than fear, where secrets no longer rule. One assassin asked, "And what does Earth get?" Elara smiled. "A seat at the real table, the one we built while the rest of you were busy fighting." Transmission to all empires. Suddenly, across the galaxy, screens turned on. Every major empire, every station, every council hall, Elara's face appeared. Calm, clear, confident. To all leaders, rulers, rebels, and watchers. "I am Elara of Earth. I have not come to beg for peace or demand power. I came to tell the truth. We watched you lie, kill, break. We studied your systems, learned your languages, understood your fears. And now we offer a choice. She. Pause. The galaxy held its breath. Stand with Earth. And build something new, or keep your secrets. And fall alone." The final message as the signal ended. One last image appeared on every screen. A list of 12 alien leaders. Beneath each name, a secret only they knew, and Earth knew too. Across the galaxy, fear turned into silence, but some began to smile because they understood. Earth didn't come to conquer. Earth came to lead. Last scene, the council reforms weeks later. The council gathered again. Elara entered the chamber. No longer a guest. No longer watched with suspicion. She took her seat, not as a diplomat, but as a founder of the new alliance. The Grand Speaker stepped down. Zrik stood beside her. And as the lights dimmed, a new symbol appeared behind her, the Earth sigil, glowing bright. For the first time in galactic history, a human had not just entered the council. She had rebuilt it.